Welcome to another fun-filled video featuring yours truly and of course my buddy Joval. Today we will be checking out his bike. He has a 2003 Kawasaki Ninja 636 and we're going to take that catalytic converter off and just put a straight pipe on there. The first thing we got to do is take a 4mm Allen key to remove the bottom bolt for the fender or for the fairing. After that, we're going to use a 6mm Allen key to remove the two bolts supporting the middle link pipe. Now as you'll see, he's going to do this. It's going to take him a couple minutes, and that's going to pop right out. Bolt's pretty large, and then on the back of that I believe there's a washer and a nut. So you want to make sure that you do get all of that. There's really only about 5 or 6 things you actually need to take off to get the catalytic converter off the bike. For this particular piece, you're going to use a 10mm socket to loosen the clamps for the mid-pipe. After that, you're going to use a 10mm and 13mm to remove the exhaust pipe. And don't worry guys, I will have all this down in the description so you can reference it if you're doing it on your own Ninja. This next part here, you're going to see Joval wiggle the yoke pipe off, and that will expose the catalytic converter, which is right there. The important part to this is you definitely want to take that little O-ring out of there. And also make sure to remove that clamp as well. You will be using that on the aftermarket piece. Clamp's easy to get out. Simply loosen that up and take that out. This piece you will actually not need for the aftermarket straight pipe. Now, this part, all we used was part of a ratchet, and we just basically gently pulled it out. There's probably a better tool to use, but we made it work. Once it's all the way out, he simply just pulled it out with his hand. Now, again, you want to remember, you want to be careful. That metal was kind of soft in there, so you don't want to rush it. Pine Box was the company that he bought his pipe from. He wasn't completely satisfied with the customer service, but to each his own. You're basically going to take that O-ring metal part and then get that back in there. I suggest if you have a rubber mallet or something to maybe use that instead of your hand. And then of course Joval's just showing off the other parts that he got. A couple washers, attachment points, things like that. After you get the straight pipe on, what we did is we tightened it, but we didn't extremely tighten it. We wanted to get the rest of the exhaust system on before completely ratcheting down on all the bolts and all the pieces. We made sure to put the large bolt back in and realized that after doing that, we don't really need anything else because again, it's an aftermarket pipe, so it is fitting a little bit different, but still everything is lined up where it needs to be. We then put the clamp back on the end piece and made things pretty simple. Again, don't tighten it too much because you do still have to fit the yoke pipe or whatever other pipe, whether it's stock or if you have something different, back in there. Simply push that part in, and then as you can see where his left hand is, he's going to go ahead and put the bolt back in through the top of the exhaust, and that way, again, we'll start tightening everything down now that basically everything's back on the bike. Now that we have the full system, in a sense, on the bike, we started tightening all of the bolts and all of the washers and nuts, etc. He doesn't have a full exhaust system on his bike. The stock headers are still on it. All we did again for this project is replace the mid-pipe and then put on the yoke that he had on previously when he purchased it. So next up here, we're going to do a quick comparison of the stock exhaust with the cat and then without.